My name is Julian Vance. They say I have the face of a Greek god and the temperament of a cornered rattlesnake. It's a reputation I've cultivated. In a world of tedious obligations and sycophantic fools, a sharp tongue is the only amusing defense. My father, the senator, thought staffing my wing of the estate with a new personal attendant would be a simple matter. He was, as usual, wrong. The last 3 had fled in tears within a week. I was contemplating which priceless antique to shatter out of sheer boredom when the butler announced the new arrival. He was brought into my private study, a room larger than the house he probably grew up in. Too thin like a stray cat. His clothes were cheap, but clean. His eyes, however, were not the terrified, downcast eyes of his predecessors. They were clear, wary, and held a sliver of defiance that was intensely irritating. I told him I needed coffee. Not just any coffee. I specified the single-origin beans, the precise water temperature, the pour-over method that took an infuriating amount of patience. I informed him that if it was brewed a second too long, I'd have his hide. I expected failure. What I got was a cup of coffee so perfectly balanced it momentarily silenced the storm in my head. He had watched me, I realized. He had observed the subtle tells of my moods, the way my brow furrowed when the temperature was even slightly off. The little stray was clever. The days that followed fell into a strange rhythm. Leo, his name was as plain as he was, became a silent, efficient shadow. When I read, he was there to turn the page before I even thought to reach for it. When I painted, my supplies were laid out with surgical precision, the expensive pigments mixed to the exact consistency I preferred. If I flew into a rage and sent a canvas crashing to the floor, he would retreat to a corner, making himself small, and then quietly clean up the mess once my fury was spent. At night, when sleep evaded me, I made him read aloud from dense, dry political theory until his voice grew hoarse and my eyelids grew heavy. I treated him like an appliance, a particularly well-functioning one, and yet I began to notice things. It started with the glances. Quick, furtive looks when he thought I wasn't paying attention. The way his hand would hesitate for a fraction of a second before pouring my coffee, as if steadying a tremor. The one time I mentioned a particular cronut from a ridiculously hip bakery downtown, he somehow procured one for me the very next morning, claiming the head housekeeper had sent him on an errand. A blatant lie. And he started wiping the sweat from my brow after my morning workouts, his fingers trembling slightly, a faint blush creeping up his neck. The realization dawned on me one languid afternoon as he fanned me on the veranda. It was so preposterous, so utterly absurd, that it was almost comical. He was infatuated with me. This quiet, unassuming boy from nowhere harbored some pathetic, hopeless crush. I confronted him about it, watching with detached amusement as he stammered and denied it, his face a mask of bewildered innocence. I informed him that I was aware of his little fantasy, this desperate pining, and warned him to keep it in check. I said he was lucky I found his diligence useful enough to keep him around. He just stood there, speechless. From then on, it became a game. I would ask his opinion on a new suit, turning slowly to let him take it all in, and he would mumble something about it looking good. I saw through his act. He was clearly captivated. If my attention strayed for a moment, I could feel his gaze on me, and I'd snap at him for staring, enjoying the way he would flinch and look away. He was like a moth drawn to a flame, and I was the fire. When I came down with a fever, he nursed me with a frantic devotion. I remember telling him, my voice weak, that he must be thrilled, seeing me so vulnerable, so completely at his mercy. He looked like I'd struck him, and his denials were almost convincing. Almost. He was a cunning little actor playing hard to get. His presence became a fixture. The space between us shrank. He moved from the far corner of the study to a chair right beside my desk. The task of dressing me in the morning fell to him, under the pretense that the other valets were clumsy. Our late-night talks shifted from political treatises to my own rambling anecdotes about childhood mishaps and the insipid poetry other society scions sent me. He would listen, his face impassive, but I knew he was hanging on every word. I found myself talking more, revealing things I'd never told anyone, just to see a flicker of a reaction in those still, watchful eyes. And I paid him well, more than well. I wanted him comfortable, dependent. I wanted him to know his entire world revolved around my whims. The breaking point, the moment this twisted little game escalated, came during a visit to a designer boutique in the city. My mother had insisted I acquire new fabrics for the fall season. I selected several bolts of muted cashmere and fine wool, colors that suited my aesthetic. As the clerk was wrapping them, I noticed Leo staring at a roll of fabric tucked away in a corner. It was a shocking crimson silk, embroidered with opulent, almost gaudy golden peonies. It was a color of unrestrained passion, something a fiery starlet might wear. I scoffed at him, asking what could possibly be so fascinating about such a vulgar textile. He immediately looked down, apologizing for his lapse. But the image of his rapt expression stuck with me. A few days later, he came into my room while I was reading, clutching a flat, wrapped parcel. He was nervous, shifting his weight from foot to foot. He explained that he'd acquired something he thought might suit me. My curiosity piqued. I took it and unwrapped the paper. Inside, folded with excruciating neatness, was a garment made from that same crimson silk. It wasn't a shirt or a robe. It was a dress, a flowing, beautifully constructed woman's dress. For a moment, the world went silent. Then, a cold fury washed over me. He dared to humiliate me, to mock me with this theatrical costume. I shot to my feet, my voice a low snarl as I called his name, accusing him of having the audacity to insult me. He dropped to his knees, his face pale with terror, swearing it wasn't his intention. He stammered that he just thought the color was striking and that someone with my looks could. He couldn't finish the sentence. He thought I could pull it off. And as I stood there, incandescent with rage, looking down at his terrified face, a different thought, perverse and thrilling, took root. He didn't want to mock me. He wanted to see it. He had imagined me in this transformed. The fury didn't vanish, but it was joined by a dark, intoxicating curiosity. I snatched the dress from the box. I told him he had better watch closely. Behind the privacy of my changing screen, my hands fumbled with the unfamiliar fastenings. The silk was cool against my skin. It felt like a transgression, a dangerous secret. When I stepped out, the silence in the room was absolute. I saw myself reflected in the dark glass of the window. The crimson was a living flame against my pale skin, the gold thread catching the light. It was shocking. It was beautiful. And the look on Leo's face. It was a mixture of terror and pure, unadulterated awe. I walked toward him, the silk whispering against the floor. I crouched down, my face close to his, and told him that this dress was now his damnation. Whatever I decided to do from that point forward, he would have to endure it. He wouldn't be allowed to resist. I watched him swallow hard, his eyes wide, and nod. I had him. He was completely and utterly mine. The dress became my new weapon. I never wore it again, but the memory was enough. A mere mention of it was sufficient to quell any hint of his stubbornness. My demands grew more arbitrary, more possessive. Yet, beneath the cruelty, something shifted. The pastries I made him fetch, I'd share with him. The all-night vigils I demanded often ended with me falling asleep first. His quiet presence a strange sort of comfort. He was testing me too, I realized, pushing back in small ways, sighing with theatrical weariness when I sent him on a pointless errand, a subtle negotiation of our strange dynamic. I allowed it. I was spoiling him, and the thought was strangely pleasant. Then the news came. My father had brokered a deal, an engagement to the daughter of a rival senator, a political merger sealed with a wedding ring. It was announced at a family dinner, a matter of fact, a done deal. The world tilted on its axis. I looked for Leo. I needed to see his devastation, to see him finally break and beg me not to go through with it. He brought my evening tea, his expression perfectly, infuriatingly neutral. He offered his congratulations. He was calm. He was composed. He didn't care. The whole thing, the stolen glances, the devotion, the dress, it had all been a lie, a performance. Or worse, he was so weak, so spineless, that he would simply accept it and fade away. The rage I felt was a cold, killing thing. I wanted to smash something, to smash him. Instead, I dismissed him with a wave of my hand. For days, I stewed in a black mood, trying to formulate a plan, a way to defy my father without losing everything. One night, a sudden, sharp anxiety gripped me. I went to his small room in the staff quarters. It was empty. The bed was neatly made, the sparse belongings gone. He had run. While I was fighting for a future that included him, he had simply packed his meager possessions and vanished into the night. Panic, hot and suffocating, seized me. I tore the estate apart looking for him. Then came the fury. I confronted my parents, roaring that I would never marry that woman, that I was going to find him. My father had me locked in the library. My mother's words were like ice water. She asked what I would do if I found him. Keep him as some sordid, backstreet secret? A boy toy hidden away in shame? Her words struck home. What could I offer him? A gilded cage? He deserved more. He deserved a world that wouldn't look down on him. A world where he could stand by my side. In the cold silence of the library, a new resolve hardened within me. There was only one way. I had to earn my own power, my own freedom. The next morning, I was calm. I went to my father and told him I had a counterproposal. I met with a man my father answered to, a man with the power to make things happen. I knelt on the cold marble floor of his office and made my plea. I would enlist. I would go to the front lines of the conflict brewing overseas. If I returned a decorated soldier, a hero, then I would be granted the right to choose my own path. If I died, the problem of my defiance would be solved. He agreed. The desert was a special kind of hell. It was grit in my teeth and fire in the sky. It was the screaming of men and the stench of fear. It was nothing like my old life. But every time the exhaustion and the terror threatened to swallow me whole, I would see his face. His quiet, stubborn, infuriatingly beautiful face. I had to get back to him. I had to find him. The war ended. We won. I had a chest full of medals and a body full of scars. We were breaking camp, preparing for the triumphant return journey. I felt a gnawing emptiness. In the vastness of the world, how would I ever find one boy who didn't want to be found? And then, outside the camp gates, I saw him. A thin, dust-caked figure, almost unrecognizable. But it was him. The way he held himself, the set of his shoulders. It was Leo. My heart hammered against my ribs. 1,000 emotions. Rage, relief, a love so fierce it hurt, crashed over me. He was here. He had come for me. I dismounted, my legs unsteady, and seized his arm. He looked like he'd been through his own private war. I demanded to know what he was doing here. He had the nerve to say he was just passing through a war zone thousands of miles from home. The lie was so audacious I almost laughed. I pulled him into my arms, the cold steel of my body armor pressing against his thin frame. I told him to run. I dared him to try it again. He started to protest, to spit some sarcastic reply, and I silenced him. I kissed him hard, a brutal claiming in front of God and the entire battalion. It was a promise and a punishment all in one. When I finally let him breathe, his face was flushed, his eyes wide with shock. I told him he was finished. His life of running was over. I swept him up into my arms. He protested, squirming, mortified by the onlookers. I ordered him to be silent. He was coming with me. I swung onto my horse, settling him securely in front of me, and gave the order to my second-in-command that I was leaving ahead of the company. I spurred my horse toward home, toward the rising sun. He was mine. He had been mine all along, and I was never, ever letting him go again. I was taking him home to get married.